Welcome back. All right, so we're going to talk about the Boston Bruins. Yep, they're number 2 on the Power Rankings all-time countdown, which means people may know who's number 1, but we'll go through this anyways. Boston has had quite the run. It has been absolutely fantastic. 7.17 is their average on the Power Rankings. That means on average they're in the top row. And the numbers add up. 99 weeks in the top row, 49 weeks in the second row, 8 weeks in the third row, and 1 week I had them in the bottom row once. I assume that was a tough week for them. But at the very least, Boston's had a really good run. They've gone all the way to the Stanley Cup final in 2019, and then the question becomes, how do you get back? You've got Marchand in his 30s now, and at what point in time does Boston get to and maybe win a Stanley Cup? Is this going to be the year? There are some concerns I have. Now, on the power rankings a week ago, January 20th, they were 5th on the power rankings. This week, last time I looked, they're still 5th. But we'll see whether or not they're 5th by the end of the day. They're playing Philadelphia. That game starts in like half an hour. So, just to give you an idea for when I'm doing these and just how much I'm needing to punch these out and remember my schedule and everything. But their top scorer, not really a surprise here. Pastrnak, 468 games, 273 goals, 290 assists, 563 points. Pastrnak, he takes over a game. I know during the summer I had Pastrnak. I think I had him number 6 in the forwards in the NHL. And there were a lot of people saying, I can't believe you have Pastrnak so high and he shouldn't be that high. But he should be. Pasternak's fantastic. And again, it's one thing we're watching all 32 teams. He is one of those few talents that can just take over a game by himself. In that Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid range. He's just fantastic. Their top goalie from 2017-18 until now in terms of wins, Tuukka Rask. Record of 104, 42 and 18 and a 917 save percentage. I am on Team Tuukka. I always have been. I think Rask was fantastic. It is a shame he didn't win a Stanley Cup as the starter, but he has a cup ring as the backup in 2011. Man, that's pretty good. So their last playoff appearance, of course, is a famous playoff appearance in 2023, where they were President's Trophy winners, which I knew the President's Trophy winning Bruins teams don't win Stanley Cups. They just don't. I know that from the 90s. So this year it doesn't look like they're going to win the President's Trophy. I say it doesn't look like, but they still could. That being said, in terms of overall points percentage from 2017-2018 until now, they're number 1 in the NHL. 700. Yeah, first. And again, being 5th on the most recent power rankings, we'll see where they are this week and going forward. But it's not really about the power rankings, is it? It's about Stanley Cup wins. So to get there, I think they're going to need help down the middle. I'm not saying anything negative about the centers they've employed this year. They've done the best they can. But I think if you're going to win a Stanley Cup, you need to get a little better down the middle. I've seen rumors that they might be tied to Lindholm out of Calgary. Lindholm has not been performing particularly well this year. Does a change of scenery maybe help him improve? Maybe. I don't know if I necessarily want to bank on that, especially considering cap hits and him being a pending free agent. And yeah, I have some concerns in that event. But either way, whatever the Bruins decide to do, whether they add or they don't, it's going to be the hard work. They've been one of the most hardworking teams in the league. I would put them in the same category as LA when LA was winning. San Jose, hey, they don't have a great win-loss record, but they've been working really hard. Philadelphia, they've got that hard work as well. I think it's worn them down getting towards the All-Star break. But for Boston, that may very well be what causes them to go through their slumps too. It's hard to keep that up for 82 games. It is. But they play a tough defensive game. They try to minimize chances against. And yeah, we'll see if they can do that the rest of the season. The other issue that I think they need to keep an eye on is depth on the blue line. They may be in the market for adding a defenseman or two. Not that there's anything wrong with the defense they've employed, but it does feel, again, like if they're going to go on a long run in the playoffs and plan for it, they're probably going to need to beef up their depth on the blue line a bit, since the blue line will often be injured during playoffs. Doesn't matter which team it is. Although, in the time this channel's been around, there was the one year that I think 5 of their top 6 defensemen were out by the end of that series against Ottawa years back. That was crazy. But at any rate, the Boston Bruins, one of the top 2 teams on the power rankings. And I don't see any reason why they can't win a Stanley Cup. I can see reasons why people don't want them to win a Stanley Cup. Hey, I get it. They're the most unpopular of unpopulars. And yet when I post videos on the Bruins, they don't necessarily get the least amount of views. So I would say there's probably some hate watching in there too. And if Boston's not doing well and I do a video on that, I would imagine that video would do really well. People get popcorn and be like, cool. And I understand that as a Boston fan, but I will go ahead and pleasantly disagree and say, no, I want them to win. I want them to achieve in the playoffs. But is this the year? I think they need to add at least one center. At least one. And I wouldn't mind if they added a couple. Beecher's been really good. Geeky's been fine. Coyle's been fine. There's nothing wrong with Zacha. It's just, it feels like they're missing something. And I think that's part of the reason why people would speculate on whether or not Bergeron would come back. Because they definitely look like if they added Bergeron, and if it didn't disrupt the team at all, and I say that because it can. Adding a player absolutely can. Even if it's somebody they all know, it can disrupt the team's flow and their overall play. But I understand why people would say, hey, if Bergeron came back, because honestly, if Bergeron came back and could play at around a point per game, then yeah, I might be picking Boston to win the Stanley Cup because I don't learn. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.